Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Nick Larson, and today is May 13th, 2019. So, this is a new segment that I want to start Monday streams, and this one is called Mentorship Monday. The idea here is really just that like mentorship has really become something that I genuinely enjoy doing. It gives me a chance to really reflect on a lot of the stuff that I've learned, over the time. I also learn quite a bit from other people, and I also learn a lot about myself in like answering the questions that people give me. And so I'm going to take some time every Monday for about 30 or 45 minutes, starting at 3 o'clock, and we're going to answer some questions about just general mentorship. First off, if you're curious, I do a pretty fair amount of mentorship. Let me see if I can get a page set up here. Do 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 do. Boom. Okay. I showed this on stream not too long ago. This is coding coach. Nope, don't want the Slack. I want coding coach. All right, here we go. So codingcoach.io. Let's go ahead and zoom. Whoa, I don't want to subscribe. Zoom in a little bit so you can actually see what's going on here. And if you go to this mentors tab up here at the top and then you kind of scroll around enough, you know what? Let's just put a technology in. Let's put in something like, I don't know, algorithms. Boom, you will find me, right? This isn't the only one you can find me under. You can find me under any of these, or you can just search for my name, I think, which is probably the easiest way to go about it. Just say Larson, like that, and boom, you can find me. You can use any one of these methods to get a hold of me. The website isn't really like, a great place to get a hold of me. It's just my blog. You go here, see all the stream recordings, go to about, see some of the stuff that I've written. And I've got a lot of stuff that's coming out here. But this is how you get a hold of me. And then you just send me a message, ask me a question, and then I'm going to answer it. And that's pretty much what it is. Depending on how many questions I get, I'm going to order them in really the order that I want to answer them. The ones that I think will have the most impact are the ones that have had the most impact on me. And then we're just going to answer them. And so today's question is really going to be two questions. The first question is, why do the mentorship thing at all? Why be a mentor and why get mentored? And to put a little spoiler in here, I do both on the regular. I get mentored all the time, and I do mentorship all the time. I would say on average I spend probably about 5 or 6 hours in mentorship, either being mentored or doing the mentoring. It's really become like a part of my job. It's also really become like just a part of like making myself better. I don't always get mentored in code stuff. I don't always get mentored in whatever. There's a lot of different things you can get mentored in, but for the most part, I do think that being a mentor and mentoring other people like just makes you better at all the things you decide to do. And so that's largely why to do it. Then I will go into a little bit more detail. The second question is a question that I was asked today by somebody on Twitter. And I'll just read to you exactly the text that I got from them, which is, I wish to know what, according to you, constitutes a successful career. Are there individual traits? I mean, we could discuss technicalities here, like development skills, etc., but I want to know personality traits that takes a person forward. All right, and so that's the second question that I'm going to answer today. And, let's just go ahead and get started. So for the most part, let's go ahead and, I want to switch this up. This is my first time doing this. I have not actually made a thingerbobber, like a view for it. So let's just go ahead and grind that out real fast. New, add, Mentorship Monday. Duplicate. There we go. Mentorship Monday. Perfect. All right, now we're in the Mentorship Monday, and I'm going to shrink this down to be something like that. Whoa, what on earth? What? I'm pretty sure I just... Oh. I don't really want the camera on there. Delete? Yeah, just remove it. Yeah, I wish to remove front camera. Whiteboard camera. Okay. There we go. Let's shrink it. Let's put it down here. And then let's put a title bar up here at the top for what we're talking about. Add a new text. Yeah. Current question. Okay. Text. All right. Why do mentoring, why be a mentor and get mentored? Okay, great. Text transform, defaults, select fonts. Can I just make it really big and that'll fix it? Yes, I can. Can I make it taller? No. Apparently not. That's not what I wanted. Nope. Okay, there we go. All right, well, this is something I'm going to work on later. So, why be a mentor and get mentored? That's a great question, and we should answer that. Number one, so first off, let's talk about getting mentored. There are a lot of reasons why you probably would want to get mentored. And the number one and most obvious is you just feel like you have something to learn and you don't know where to go to get it. This is a lot like when you start a new job and you go and you knock on the door of your neighbor and you're like, hey, can you answer this question for me real fast? That's pretty much what mentorship is. Only instead of it being specific like, hey, where is this function in the code? It's like, hey, how do I make myself better in my career? Right? A little bit different, but overall not really that much different. And it's sort of the basis for it. Let's talk about that. So number one is it helps a lot if you show up with questions and very specific questions, not things like, how can I be better in my career? That's very difficult to answer because it doesn't tell me anything about you, right? It doesn't tell me, what it is that you're trying to learn. It doesn't tell me, can I help you or can I direct you to another place where you might be able to get better help than I can give you? And it also, really narrows down exactly what it is that you're looking for. If I sit down and try to answer that, I'm going to spew stuff for like 30 minutes. And then at the end of it, you're going to be like, well, I really meant, what color should I make the box? Something like that. And it's like, I just answered the wrong question because it wasn't specific enough. So show up with specific questions, and to sort of give you an idea of how specific it should be along the lines of like, I am trying to do this, and I would like to know if I'm doing a good job at it. I'd like to know where I could be doing better at it. And I'd like to know how else you would use this or what approach you would have taken instead. And these are all great questions, right? They're not like I'm going to sit down and answer, write some code for you. It's really just like I'm going to sit down and we're going to discuss the pros and cons of doing it different ways. And really what you need to, or, like the goal of what you should get out of mentorship is a more well-rounded view when thinking about problem solving. You should show up, you should ask a specific question, and when you leave here, you're going to now have, two different ways to solve the problem instead of just one. And I don't mean like, oh, we could solve it in, JavaScript, or we could solve it in C sharp, but like how to organize the problem and how to think about the consequences of which direction you end up deciding to choose. That happens all the time. Like, you can always get better at that. And because of that, I pretty much say that mentorship should be a constant in your life to some degree. It doesn't mean you should spend like every single day doing it. It doesn't mean you should spend every single week doing it or anything like that. It just means, don't ever turn it down when the opportunity presents itself, is kind of my approach to it. The second thing is, why would you ever want to do mentoring? Well, the reality is that mentoring is a lot like being mentored. You're still seeing somebody else's perspective. You are still interacting with people and learning more about the profession. Me personally, I know the things that I know, and I know the approaches that I know, but I learn at least as much from the other people that I end up mentoring as they learn from me, in large part. Oftentimes, one of the biggest things that you learn is how to present a solution, right? This is super, super important. I know that like for the first, probably 8 or 9 years of my career, I had real trouble like convincing other people of my ideas. Like, we should do this because, right? They would get whatever idea it was that they wanted to do, and then we would have some discussion. And at the end of the discussion, I was just unable to convince them that going one route or another was a good idea. A lot of this had to do with like I was young when we did a couple of mine, and a bunch of the people around here just were like, oh yeah, I remember when that happened, and then we wrote it. We did 3 rewrites on that, and it's like that kind of stuff happens. But it got sort of worn in to the point where like I just kind of was like, yeah, okay, whatever, we'll just do the thing. No matter how good I thought my solution was or anything like that. And then there was a couple of times where I was like, no, I really think we should go this way. And I just wasn't good enough at convincing people, at like working through that. And by talking to other people and doing mentorship and realizing that people learn things in different ways and how to figure that out quickly, which ways people respond to things, instead of just constantly driving in the idea that I have, instead reframing it in a way that they, in the way that they see problems, or in a way that they, digest information, is another really good way to put it. Oh wait, I'm not doing JS practice. I gotta rename this. Mentorship Monday. All right, there we go. Okay. Continuing on. So, yeah, people learn things in a lot of different ways. And just sort of recognizing that and getting to the point where you can convey information effectively in a mentorship session is a lot the same as conveying information well in a non-mentorship session. At a when you're having a discussion with people from work, when you're having whatever it is that you're doing, and so that's a really, really valuable skill that I learned. Also, as someone who participates in mentorship a lot, you sort of like gain this lens that you look through when you're doing mentorship, or I don't know what you would call it for hearing, but like you start to pick up on things. And the things that you pick up on really help you, like I said, understand where people are coming from a lot faster than just trying to reiterate the same thing in, effectively the same way, but just using different words. And knowing how to get there a lot faster is a very valuable skill. It's also really, really fun doing mentorship when you recognize that you're helping somebody. I mean, every single time I've done a mentorship, it doesn't matter how big or small, whether somebody came and asked me a question, whether we did an 8-week, program, whether we get together once a month and we've been doing it for years, like whatever it is, people are always so grateful, just incredibly grateful to have gotten whatever help it is that you can give them. And that personalized one-on-one sort of way of going about it is I don't know, it helps me a lot. I won't say, it's perfect for everybody, but like I know that in my experience, I used to watch a lot of videos. I would do a bunch of tutorials. I would do a lot of this and that. And I just got to this point where like I reached this wall where like I could not learn anything more, on my own. And because of that, it gets super, super frustrating. I would go and I would try a bunch of different things. I would go all over the place, do whatever it is that I could find. But it turns out that like just asking somebody helps a lot. Now, at my office, I, like many other people, have the benefit of working with a bunch of smart people. A lot of software developers are super smart, and it's great that I get to go and ask them questions. But there's still the thing where like they know what they know, and I know what I know, and if the stuff that I'm trying to learn is not stuff that they're familiar with, they're still just like, I can't really help you. And so going out and seeking mentorship for those sorts of things can be super valuable. This is a lot of the reason, too, why I ended up going back to grad school. I ran into this exact problem. And then I was like, I just have to immerse myself in these technologies and these things that I'm trying to learn if I'm going to have any chance of it. And I need to be around people who are learning it. And school is a lot like that. Okay. So what, this is another thing, is like people don't always recognize what mentorship is. Or they have this expectation that like, we're here to get the answer. And that is almost always not really true. Mentorship is a lot more about, thinking about problems. It's a very meta sort of exercise, more so than sitting down and somebody telling you the answer to something. Like that's what Stack Overflow is for. That's what blog posts are for. That's what Google is for. You go out there, you type in the specific thing that it is that you're trying to do, and you go out there and they answer that question. But when you move one level higher than that, when you're like, what design pattern should I do? What sort of this, what sort of architecture works well for this kind of application? Those sorts of things are not really in scope for those, for those kinds of sites. And that's where mentorship can go a long way. Oftentimes, you'll start by just talking with people at your company, and take advantage of that as much as you can. Do some pair programming, get in there, talk to them, find out, get them to just dump their brain on you, and then do the same for them. Sit down and like look at some code together, talk about some different ideas about the code. Think about things as problems more so than trying to, get general information. Say like, this is something that I would like to do. This is something that I think it, could be better, is a much better question than, can you just describe to me what this thing does? Unless the problem is, I just genuinely cannot figure out what this does. And then you say like, here's the best of my understanding. Here is as far as I've gotten. Here is where I'm stuck. Then you can ask about a very specific thing. Like, what is the command pattern used for and why is it useful? Or, a really good question was, what is fast Fourier transform and what's it good for? Now you can look that kind of stuff up, but to really understand it, you kind of have to see it in practice. But that's sort of where you're at when you get to, the stage of, okay, it's time for a little bit of mentorship. Getting in there and saying like, oh, I've got a bug in my code. That's not mentorship. That's like, we're sitting down and we're pair programming. Mentorship is more like, here's how I approach the problem. Here's how I locate the bug. Those sorts of things are what I would classify, as mentorship. And that's where you want to be when you're talking with other people, when you're having those one-on-one conversations, a lot more so than like, can you just tell me what to do? Because it's very one-sided. Either I know the answer or I don't know the answer, and then you're going to leave, and that's going to be that, and we're going to move on, and that's the end of the whole thing. And it's like, that's not really where you want to have a conversation, because one person feels like they're not getting anything out of it. You give them a thanks at the end, and they're like, hey, all right, I did this. But they had a one-on-one conversation. There's no artifact left in the world. There's no Stack Overflow answer. There's no blog post. There's no nothing. They gave you your time, and that is all that time will ever be valuable for. And so that's sort of a hard sell. But when you have conversations where both people are getting something out of it, well, it's a lot easier then for people to really appreciate and get involved with and start to go into the nitty gritty and trying to work through problems with you on that kind of stuff. Yeah. Let's see. So that's pretty much it for why I think being a mentor and why getting mentored is awesome. I again am happy to do it. In fact, I think we're going to save the other question for next week. But yeah, I am happy to do mentorship. Please stop by, drop me a line. Here one more time. Whoops. Here one more time is how you can get a hold of me. It's codingcoach.io, and then just go type in my name, Nick Larson, and find me. And then you can click any one of these buttons down here and send me a question, or ask for some of my time, and we can get on a hangout. We can do whatever it is, get on some sort of call, and we can get together and sort of see if I can help you or not. And then I'll be doing these every Monday at 3 o'clock. Like I said, we're going to do about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, depending on how difficult the question is. And that's it. So thank you for your time. Really appreciate everybody who stopped by today. I will be putting this up and tweeting about this a little later on this evening. And hopefully I get some of your questions soon, and I will see you all later.